So today's episode of Falkirk Daft is going to be dedicated to Jock Marshall, massive Bairns fan, huge Bairn who was known universally through Camelin and Falkirk. Sadly, passed away recently. Thoughts go out to Ryan, Vicky, and the family. This episode is for you, Jock.
McAllister still going strongly in the closing minutes. Great run by Kevin McAllister! What a goal that is! Delivery's good, there's Hagan. Now McGrillen, he scored!
It's Stokes on a hat-trick! Goal number 3 for Anthony Stokes!
Ralston saw off Robertson and delivered! Sibbald scores! That's the goal! That's the moment! Samuel up and running again. Is it going to be the hat-trick? You know it is.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Hello and welcome to Falkirk Daft. It is your unofficial podcast dedicated for everything to do with the mighty Falkirk Bairns. I am John, your host, and joining me as ever is the ginger god of pod himself. He missed the game at the weekend, but he caught up with it on the old BPN. It is Ross Wayne. How you doing, Ross?
Good afternoon, sir. Good evening, actually. There we are. So wasn't able to get there physically on Saturday, but I thought we did. We got the win, which was all I asked for last month.
That's all we wanted. That's all
we wanted to get through. No thanks to the referee, but there we go.
You missed a good day out though, Ross. It was an on the clock start. We went to the Black Bull. I know you'll be gutted because whenever we go out, Ross has to go to the Artisan. So we didn't go to the Artisan. We went to the Black Bull. Bunch of Aberdeen supporters in there. So we're chatting away to them in the Black Bull and then wandered out of the game. Obviously got the result we were looking for. And don't worry, Ross, we made it back into the Artisan just for you.
Good man, good man. So it's a staple whenever you're playing Hibs or obviously Edinburgh now, but hopefully we don't have to visit it in the nicest way. Hopefully we don't have to go back to Edinburgh City for a couple of years or a few years.
Well, exactly. Fingers crossed. Maybe in the playoff. Who knows?
Wow.
So lots and lots has happened since we last spoke, Ross. I think we've just got to get into it straight away, just as we were about to start the podcast. The AGM email came out, and it's really not a nice read, to be honest with you. Let me just grab up the email just now and read you what has come out from the directors this afternoon. It reads, Dear shareholder, please find attached the report of the directors and audited financial statements for the year ended 31st of May 2022. 21-22 was a year potentially like no other. Following the disruption caused by COVID, stability and continuity were required, not the significant upheaval caused by the wholesale boardroom changes. So setting out the stalls fairly early here. On the football front, only securing a disappointing 6th position in League One, missing out on the playoffs by 8 points was disappointing. Expectations were high at the start of the season with the appointment of a new management team in Paul Sheehan and Danny Granger, who together with Gary Holt remodelled the squad, bringing in a significant number of new faces, most of which are no longer with us. That didn't say that in the letter, by the way. These expectations seemed well placed when the new season started brightly, giving grounds for optimism that we could mount a sustained challenge for promotion, yet by December 2021 the results achieved and overall performances led to Paul and Danny's contract being terminated, with Gary Holt leaving shortly thereafter. Martin Rennie and Kenny Miller joined in December on short-term contracts, and after initial improvement, the results and performances in the final 9 games meant their contracts were not renewed. Despite all this uncertainty and disappointment, our supporters once again backed the club in their thousands. We cannot thank them enough. Now we get into the bare bones financial performance 21-22. Regrettably, the financial performance mirrored the poor performance in the park, with the club reporting a loss of 1.16 million on a turnover of 1.28 million. Despite starting the financial year with 718,000 in the bank, projected losses exceeded cash reserves, meaning that the investment was required during the year to maintain cash flow. Thankfully, this investment was forthcoming in late 21 and early 22 from the fans, the patrons group, Bairn for Life and the Falkirk Supporter Society. The investment enabled the club to continue trading until the end of the season, but with a significantly depleted cash balance at the year end. That's a bit worrying in that sense, isn't it, Ross? This investment enabled the club to continue trading. Then we go into where are we now? Talking about John and Paul joining the club. We talk about the business plan to support John and Paul for 2020, 22, 23, reducing the operating losses, incurred in 21, 22, and they were able to budget and reduce losses from over 1.1 to only £400,000. So there we go. At the time of writing, trading performance is on track to achieve our 22-23 budget, subject to year-end projections being met. We believe that the good progress is being made both on and off the park, but we still have a long way to go to fully rebuild a sustainably successful football club underpinned by a consistently solid operating model. Initial thoughts on this, Ross?
I've obviously not had a chance to dissect it or read it since it came in, John, but it's never great when you hear the words. Obviously, talking
loss of 1.2 million.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Obviously, it is the past in terms of what's been. It's a historical position, but what a position we were in. And obviously, it's not as if we're through everything now. You know, the financial issues this year have been well documented, well highlighted. It's great that we're on track, but what a position we were in.
Yeah, I mean, you read 1.2 million and it is worrying. Where is that? You know, where is that going to come from? How are we going to make that up? We certainly don't. Well, we've maybe got one or two sellable assets now, but it is worrying. It is worrying. I'm sure that a lot, of questions will be asked when the AGM happens in February. I mean, I'll hold up my hands. I'm not a finance expert, and you just read that top line, and when you look at it, the breakdown from the previous financial year, I think it was about 218,000 that we lost, or something along those lines. When you look at it. So it is worrying. I mean, you know more about this than I do, Ross. I mean, but you don't seem to be worried by this. So that
I think if we were, and the only reason I'm probably more optimistic, John, is the fact that I think we are in a far, far better place, not just on the park, but I think we are in a far, far better position off it as well. So no, I don't have too many panic thoughts around the future. In isolation, though, it's obviously that's a horrendous financial year, and it's one that we've obviously had to battle through the last sort of almost a year. So I suppose the flip side is the financial position previously wasn't well communicated. Like, can you imagine if this had been a regular dialogue through that financial period? And it really wasn't until the patrons came on board and the supporter society had an influence in the boardroom as well. So this is when the real true position of the finances started to come out. So it's a worry that was the case. But I think we are in a far, far better place now.
Yeah, I mean, looking at, the previous year, as I said, 254,775 was the loss in the previous year. When you look at 1.156, 965, 1.1 million roughly, rounding up to 1.2 million. It is,
scary figures.
It really is, and worrying. But Ross, you have confidence. It's all going to be fine. It's all going to be fine.
Listen, you don't know what's round the corner, but I think everything I've seen in the last sort of 12 to 18 months has looked far, far better, if I'm being honest. All the noises that are coming out, has it been dark messages at times? Yes, it has. We had the directors on here and it was pretty black and white as to what needed to happen. What I think might happen at the AGM, reading between the lines, is the call for investment will be sang again. But is it just going to come purely from the supporters? I don't know. They might have to look at external investment or alternative investment.
I mean, looking at that gap, in that loss, they're definitely going to have to look for outside investment. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that they're going to have to look for outside investment. In fact, Keith and Kenny almost intimated that when they were on here. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's going to be interesting. That meeting's certainly going to be interesting. Obviously, we'll be covering it on the podcast when that happens. Will you be going to it, Ross?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, 100%. So And I think it's important that every available shareholder tries to get along, so that we can hear what's going on, so we can find out what's going to be happening with the future of the club, how things have improved. And let's face it has improved. You don't need to be a financial guru to see it has improved, because obviously that's what they tell us. That's what we can see. We can see gates are up. We can see sponsorships up. We can see all these things that would bring money in are up, which is great. We're doing better on the pitch, which is definitely always a big thing. And long may that continue, because it's almost a virtuous, not a vicious circle, but a virtuous circle. Because when the team does well, everything else has a positive spin on it as well, you know?
No, absolutely. We'll probably talk once we've got into the figures a bit more, because this just dropped in the last kind of hour. We've just got this in, and we'll probably talk a wee bit more about it on next week's show, you know, and going forward ahead of the AGM as well. So, all shareholders there. I mean, it is top line in the headline, as you say, Ross. People will hit that as the headline, and you know, and so that when Falkirk supporters see that is the worrying thing, and I guess that's where I come from in that perspective. But listen, like you say, we're in a better place on and off the park, so we'll wait and see what happens at the AGM. Right, since last week as well, loads of stuff's happened in a football perspective, forgetting about the finance perspective at the moment. Let's talk about the football. 3 new signings in the door. You know, Benny T's was rife, Ross. It was blown off, and then we got 3 signings in one day. You know, we brought in the keeper from West Ham, Brian Kinnear, so he's with us now. But 3 new signings, Ross, all came in. We had Matthew Wright from on loan from Ross County, Archie Meekison from Dundee United, and the kind of big signing out of the 3, which, like, we spent money on a player, Jordan Allen in from Clyde.
Indeed. Yeah, no, listen, it was a really good day. I think we all needed it, because we were getting a wee bit worried, because obviously the outdoor had been the busiest feature of the month so far. So to get some bodies in was really, really good. And 3 interesting bodies, a young striker and Wright. Meekison seems to have a really good pedigree behind him. Obviously, as we know, he took a knock and he came off. Hopefully, he's not going to be out of action too long. And then Jordan Allen has scored goals almost everywhere he's went, and he's scored a few against us this year as well. Let's not forget. So I think he's going to be a real good signing. I think he's going to be great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, we'll get into it when we talk about the game against him, but you know, you've got to feel sorry for the likes of Burrell, though, who didn't even get off the bench despite scoring 2 goals, you know, coming off the bench in previous weeks. So bringing in 2 strikers, I thought we might only brought in 1, but it's bringing the 2 strikers. I mean, that's 4 strikers we've now got in the squad at least, so there will be competition for places.
Absolutely. Obviously, Allegra going was a shock. So, and I think he already, as he said, he already wanted a striker in prior to that. But in terms of where we're at and where we're going, I think it was needed, as we just mentioned, but there is real competition there. We've obviously been a little bit critical of Gary Oliver in terms of putting the ball in the net, and he's done that on Saturday. A fantastic finish, really cracking header. But in terms of that Burrell piece, do you know Burrell? He probably was a wee bit peed off at not getting a start, but Burrell's a young lad as well. He'll see that there's competition there, and he's going to have to work his socks off, as is everybody, to get a start. It does seem and feel like John and Paul do like to continue with a winning team, which for me, I don't know, and I'm not a football guru, so John knows better than us. But it just feels sometimes I think I would be tweaking it depending on who we're playing, the type of team that we're playing as well. These teams, most of the teams in this league should be changing for us, never mind the other way about. But I just think on occasion we do need to mix up, because remember, and I know we've spoken about this before, remember Yogi used to never change a winning team. But then it would come back and bite your arse on a particular occasion. So I just hope that doesn't happen here. But Burrell will be ready and waiting, I'm sure.
Yeah, we did a research. I reached out to my Montrose supporting friend asking about Matthew Wright and how he's done there. He said, yep, good player, done a great job for us. He was starting to worry because they've lost the 3 lone players back to the Paints Clubs, and we've obviously picked up one. And my Dundee United supporting friend Callum really rates Mikason. He says, class player, frustrates me that we don't play him, but Dylan Levitt's ahead of him when we all know how good a player Dylan Levitt is. Central midfielder, great feet, good eye for goal. Think he'll scoosh League One, but then again, I've been wrong before. But you know what, you look at that and you think it's a shame. It looks like he's out with a hamstring injury after coming off the bench there. We also we reached
John. Hopefully, might not be too long. Maybe just a few weeks. Because if it's the first time he's done it, then that's not usually too much of a turnaround.
We reached out to our friends at the Clyde FC podcast, being quite apologetic and saying sorry guys, but they. Paul over there says, brilliant natural finisher. His hold-up play can leave a little to be desired, but will bully defenders despite giving up a fair bit of height. I didn't realise until he came off the bench for us, like, how small he was. But I think because we've got a big team, you kind of notice that a bit more. But Paul goes on to say, but his biggest asset is his work rate. Will move defenders all over and make space for others. We've lost a good player, possible. Not we need it at the moment, but I would be astounded if he wasn't a big success at Falkirk, and that's from Paul at the Clyde FC podcast.
I think he'll do well for us, John. I really do. He's got we've seen him do it against us this season already. He knows where the goals are. He is a wee fella. Kind of reminds me of John Baird a little bit in terms of his stature.
It's a good comparison.
Listen, if he's as successful as John Baird was for us, then brilliant.
Absolutely. The only other kind of rumours on the way out is there's the constant rumour about Kai Kennedy moving out the door. At this point, it's Monday the 30th. There's no movement on that as we know. And the continuing rumours around Callum Morrison, who again scored and set up one at the weekend. His numbers are brilliant. He's doing a tremendous job for us. Do you think there's any chance he might move out the door? I mean, Dundee's been the club that he's been linked with.
I think it would take, as much as we're talking about how we need cash and stuff, John, I think it would take a silly offer for us to play with Callum Morrison. Let's face it, he could well be the difference between us challenging for this championship or not. So for me, that's worth hundreds of thousands of pounds, and Dundee are not going to pay anything like that. So nothing like that at all. I'd be shocked if they even paid something like 50 grand. So for me, it's not worth it. And he's on a long contract. It's not as if we have to cash in now. So for
he's got a year and a half to run still, hasn't he?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's at least a year and a half. So for me, I just wouldn't be going near that, and I wouldn't entertain it at all.
Well, we'll wait and see. Hopefully by this time next week, we've still got that squad there, because it is, you think, and we'll get into obviously 5 points to mind the gap now. But, you know, we've got a squad there. We needed to bring players in with the amount of players that we had going out the door. And it looks like we've got a really, and you've still got to remember Paul Watson and Lowell have still got to come back on into that squad as well. So we've got a really solid squad now. So we shall wait and see. Right, that was it for Benny T's corner. Let's move on to a bit of correspondence. We've got one here from Kirk. He's been in touch. He says, hello lads, thank you for the weekly podcast. I've been really enjoying it. I was wondering if you could give a wish to my dad, Stuart Cuthill, a happy birthday this week. He's been a Falkirk fan for over 70 years and was lucky enough to witness the Scottish Cup final win in 57. He's still going home and away, and I'm sure he'd love a birthday mention on this show. We'd both be keen to come on the show at some point later in the season. I am in Australia, but I'm following games on Falkirk TV. Actually, we've got a father and son duo coming on to look at the Edinburgh game later on, but we'd love that. I mean, to have our Australian listeners on would be brilliant. So Kirk, love to have you on the podcast. Maybe this, like I say, should be a new feature, the birthday corner, Ross. I quite like that.
Yeah, a bit like remember the kids programs when you were younger, people sending pictures in, and
yeah, if you could send in pictures as well, we could do it like the gallery as well. Oh, I've got a birthday card here, and it was always like, and love from the dog as well. I don't know, see, I've got a dog, right, but I don't sign the dog's name in a card. I just think that's strange.
Taking it too far in it, but no. Happy birthday to Stuart! Absolutely, that's a fair old vintage in terms of his tenure watching Falkirk as well. 70 years. John, I don't know if we've got any others, but we also had a message come in from Stuart Brown around Brian for a message for his mate Brian Doddsy, as he's well known.
Don't Doddsy.
Yeah, so Stuart just wanted to say best of luck to Doddsy, who's moving to be the first ever Saudi Bairn. What a waste of a season ticket. However, all the very best from Stuart. And he says he's going to be the first ever Saudi Bairn. Have we had any listeners or viewers from Saudi?
I don't think we have, no.
So yeah, he will be there then. There you go.
There we go. We've got a Saudi Bairn then. So all the best, Doddsy. Best luck going to get that lovely tax-free money over in the Emirates, Right, okay, right, so we've also got to deal with, it's the end of the month, Ross, so it's the Falkirk Supporter Society draw. And we have 3 prizes up for grabs if you're a member of the Falkirk Supporter Society. If you want to get involved with the Falkirk Supporter Society, it's dead easy. You can do that at falkirksupporters.org, sign up there, or just type in Falkirk Supporter Society on social media. You get all the links on the social media pages. What prizes have we got on offer this week for the Falkirk Supporter Society members?
Yeah, John, so for the month of January, we've got 3 prizes up for grabs. The staple, the big prize, the main prize is the boardroom hospitality even for 2, courtesy of the board of directors at Falkirk Football Club. Second prize is our monthly offering of a bucket full of beer in the Brockville bar.
That's the big prize.
That's the big one. And the KM stand. And then last but not least, a massive thank you on behalf of the FSS for Brian Flynn over at Behind the Wall, who's donated a voucher, a gift voucher again. So amazing, really well done. So have you got your website ready?
I have got the website ready, the random number generator ready to go. So let's grab that just now and we'll get out the win. So we've got 635 current members, that is correct.
Indeed, that was as at this afternoon, so I got that sent over by the guys at the FSS.
I have fed them into the computer. If you're watching the video versions, you will see minimum 1, maximum 635. I will then push this button to generate a number. What number will that be, and what is this winning? 288, Ross.
288, so that is for the Behind the Wall voucher, and we have Ewan Maule. So I think it's Maule, Maule.
I would go with that, Ewan Maule. There they go. Congratulations,
Ewan. Yep.
Right, okay, next number coming up, and this is for the bucket of beer, courtesy of Falkirk Daft, which you'll be able to enjoy in the Brockville bar, and the number is, Ross, 237.
237 this time. We have a Michael Walker. Well done, Michael.
Walker, well done. There you go, up the road with a bucket of beer, courtesy of your friends here at Falkirk Daft. Right, okay, and this is the big one. This is the boardroom hospitality for all the Falkirk Support Society members, and the number coming out is 48. One of the early
ones. Let's have a look here. So I'm going to speak on behalf of the winner. I think.
All right, it's someone you know then.
Well, it's Mr. Keith Gourley, who's actually donated the I think he would say to me to pop this.
I think we'll draw again on the fact that it's a board member winning this, so we'll draw again. Well done, Keith, though. Right, okay, wait, number 48 it isn't. We'll generate another number. It's 356.
Okay, yes, and it's definitely not a name I recognise or a board member as far as I know. So it's Mr. Jim Wilson.
Well done, Jim. There you go. Boardroom hospitality there, and it's not Keith. That's brilliant. See if he comes back and says, I wanted that.
Well, he's in the boardroom every other week. So.
Exactly. That's fine. Yeah. Brilliant. So that's the Falkirk Sports Society draw. If you want to be in it next month, just get signed up now, like I say, for the Falkirk Supporters Society, and you can do that at falkirksupporters.org and get involved in that. Right, shall we talk football now? Let's do that. Why not? Let's look back at the game against Edinburgh at the weekend there. And we're doing it a bit differently this week. So it's a first for Falkirk Daft. We get a guest pundit on every week to review the game. And we have got a father and son duo on this week, Ross. I love this. It's Scott and Evan Harrower. How you doing, guys?
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. How are we?
Excellent. Good.
We're all good. On to talk about the match on Saturday. Really appreciate your time, guys.
Yes.
We're just talking there about the view. You had a good view, didn't you?
No, really. But probably
nobody has a good view. That's...
you could get. We were looking at close-ups of the main stand, and we've agreed that there's only 3 rows of seats in the main stand, so it's pretty pathetic wherever you are in that ground, But you know what? We support our team, so we'll go and make do with whatever we get.
Absolutely. I'm going to get Evan's story in a minute because I can guess it relates to you. Hey, Scott, what got you into Falkirk? Was it a family thing, or was it just something?
So my first recollection is probably like the early 80s. So I was just a nipper. Spent more time we were doing it the old fences at the back of the goals, and I guess it's Hope Street, innit? Spent more time looking at the crowd and that than watching the actual game, sitting on that railing. Few other memories from back in the day. I seem to recall there was like an open day and you were up in the main stand and the players were kicking footballs up to the range and stuff like that. Do you remember that, Ross?
I think I do remember that, actually. Was that one of the
plastic balls that kind of go, you know?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
But my best time as a Falkirk fan was probably the 90s, you know, in my teens and my early 20s and stuff. Everything's great when you're that age, so absolutely. And we were doing well kind of latter kind of 10, 15 years at Brockville and stuff like that, and we had great players and stuff like that. Amazing memories that time. And since Evan came along, we've been going to the games a lot more as well, So yeah, it's all good.
Fantastic. And Evan, I'm assuming you're just following your dad's footsteps. Yeah. Good. That's what I like to see. Right, so I'll ask you.
Sorry, John, I'll talk for him because he's a bit starstruck. He's been going since he was 6 years old.
Fantastic.
Couple of interesting facts about him. He's been the mascot at Falkirk games 1.5 times.
1.5?
So it was due to be the mascot for the Montrose game, which was canned due to COVID-19.
Wow, really?
We'd been to meet the players, and it was Miller and McCracken that were the managers at the time, weren't they? And Louis Longridge was his favourite player at the time. And we'd been all through that, and the whole week got canned for COVID. Couple of days before, you know, he was due,
of course.
And then he was the mascot at Kelty, the home game against Kelty. So the whole family was there, We were all like, oh my.
I know. Don't worry, I'm sure you're not bad. I'm sure it wasn't your bad luck, Evan. I'm sure it was just.
We'll get them back on Saturday for you.
Exactly. So wait, I'm going to ask Evan, who's your favourite Falkirk player that you've seen so far?
At the moment, probably Callum Morrison.
Cal. Mm-hmm. He's a stake player these days, isn't he? These days. Right, Scott, what about you?
All-time favourites? Probably got to be Stainrod, as I say, just because of the era that I was sort of super right into it and stuff like that, But, I mean, I've taken a couple of notes, and I've got a couple of players that I'm going to call them the littlest hobo players, because what they do is they come into the club and they make us all bright and shiny, then they disappear at the end of it, like, you know, and we're all a bit kind of like, oh my God, where's he gone? So like, say, Pedro Matinho, Daniel McBreen, Anthony Stokes, Darryl Duffy, you know, these players just lit the club up, then they disappeared, That's my littlest hobo players.
Do you know what? I like that term, the littlest. Also thinking Lyle Taylor, there's another one as well.
So many over the years, like
that just come in and do their job and then. I like that, littlest lost hobo players. Love that. Let's talk about the match then. Obviously, you two were there. Ross was watching it on the telly. Falkirk 2, Edinburgh 1. Goals from Gary Oliver and Callum Morrison as we went into the game with an unchanged side for the second week running. Obviously, Cole Donaldson still suspended. So we'll be interested to see PJ Morrison starting in goals. Some thought the new keeper might have come in. But yeah, I guess, Ross, you go with an unchanged side, and he's done that throughout, hasn't he? Even despite the new signings.
Yeah, and so I wasn't really too shocked, even with the signings coming in on Thursday. I wasn't too shocked that he didn't change it. The one player we talked about last week that we thought might come in would be the keeper. So it's interesting that he's not dropped PJ. So on that basis, you would assume he's going with PJ until PJ does something to be dropped. So on that basis, we'll probably be unchanged again this weekend. But no, wasn't shocked, John, and I think it's probably the right call.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the goalkeeping situation, because you think West Ham aren't going to let one of their goalkeepers go without promised game time. But as you say, Ross, how can you drop PJ? And again, we'll probably talk about PJ's performance, but Scott, I don't know what you made of it. I thought it was a commanding performance, commanded his area really well, came and took the pressure off the defence with his gathering of his crosses.
I don't think he put a foot wrong, to be honest with you, and I think the manager seems to be quite a loyal manager, and I don't think he's just going to upset the apple cart, as they say. You know, we're on a 5-6 game unbeaten run, so you can't just start dropping players because you've got new faces and stuff like that, because you know, it's, to me, it's not a very nice thing to do to players when they're playing pretty good anyway.
Yeah. What do you make of the first half, guys? I thought it was a very stilted performance. I think John kind of echoes that in his post-match interview, but it just seemed a bit of a nothing performance in that first half. Not at our best at all.
There wasn't much in it. There wasn't like hard tackles going in, controversy or anything like that. For what I saw, you know, like it's a bit bizarre going to that ground and stuff like that. It's almost like watching a friendly. But yeah, nothing really. When you watch back at the highlights and stuff, we had a few decent chances, and Robbie Much made a few good saves for them and stuff like that. But it didn't really do much for me in the first half.
No, I would agree, Scott. I think we didn't start like too brightly. As you said, there was a few shots and goals and stuff, and Robbie Much, you knew Robbie was going to be trying like a bear on Saturday, as he always does. But no, you're right. It was almost a forgetful sort of first opening 45 minutes, and we really, really had to come out, and I think we did that.
Do you think, and you touched on it there, Scott, do you think the stadium and the surroundings has an effect on that? Because like you say, it felt akin to watching a Sunday League game, watching it in Edinburgh. Do you think that feeds into the players as well and affects their performance? Because the pitch wasn't too bad, and you know, it just seemed that we couldn't get into our flow, we couldn't get into our normal style.
I think it's just a bizarre place to play football. You know, you've got that big, they call it the white elephant thing at the one side, and then you've got the running track, then you've got us about half a mile away and stuff like that, and we're all on the one level and stuff like that. So it must do something to the players that they feel like it's not a normal game and stuff. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but if it was me, I wouldn't feel like I'd feel on a normal day playing at a proper stadium.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, not much to write home about in that first half. We get into the second half, however, and we come out the box flying. Let's talk through the first goal, which came fairly early on. What a ball from Callum Morrison. It was absolutely delicious. And our friend Gary Oliver, who we were saying Burrell should be starting this week.
Aye.
Brilliant header from Gary as well. But I mean, it was put on a plate from Morrison, Ross.
Absolutely peaching. I think Lewis or Stuart touched on it in the highlights as well. It was just the fact that it was an early ball, and I think even if he'd waited another few seconds, the outcome might not have been the same. But what a really, really teasing ball in, and Gary Oliver just he headed it away so nicely. But the build up was great. The ball, the cross in was superb, and the finish, we just can't argue with that. So and quite rightly, Gary Oliver, and as we talked about, we'd obviously been talking about him maybe not starting, and Burrell coming back in, and you've got Jordan Allen there as well, who some may have thought he would have got a start, but more than deserved to go. More than deserved.
What I mean, Evan and Scott, what did you guys make of Gary Oliver? We've talked about Gary Oliver, you know, how he's a 10 and not a 9, and you know, John McGlynn continually talks up his work rate, and you can see that, but you know, we've talked about on this podcast the amount of balls and we saw it again probably on Saturday, the balls that go whizzing across the box, and there's no way to connect with it. I mean, generally, are you a fan of Gary Oliver, guys?
Want to say something?
Yeah, well, I noticed that Gary Oliver spends a lot of time on the other side of the pitch whenever he's like playing instead of like being the striker all the time. He's more in centre mid cam areas.
He does that. He seems to do a lot of work without being on the end of the ball very often. I did say to my brother, fun enough, at half time at the game on Saturday, I think he's got 15 minutes here to potentially save his Falkirk career. Just because of the new signings and stuff like that, he's got to come up with the goods. And lo and behold, like you say, crossing for Morrison, bang, what a header! And I looked at my brother, I goes, there you go, that'll give him a few more minutes as a Falkirk player. I think he's a good worker. He's just not banging in the goals when we need goals.
Yeah. Do you think that makes him, guys? Do you think that makes him undroppable? I mean, we go into the Kelty match. Do you think Gary Oliver becomes undroppable as a result of that goal?
I would say so. The way McGlynn works, I would probably say that'll be the decision he'll make. You kind of drop players that are having good games, especially if you're getting a goal. But it just, I wonder how Burrow will be feeling about that now.
I agree, Scott. I think he'll go same team again, barring any injuries. Although Donaldson can come back this Saturday, can't he?
Yeah, Cole Donaldson can come. Now that's an interesting thing, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Kelty game, Ross. But yeah, it's again, do you unsettle that? I thought Brad Mackay was outstanding, and I'll probably put him as my Falkirk Daft rated player this week. But I thought Brad Mackay was outstanding on Saturday. And do you change that defence?
Quite possibly not. He may keep as is. It's a winning formula so far. That's been 2 games, and we've not looked troubled really in the most. I think we could have done better with their goal, although the ref didn't help so much. But I think you're right, John. I think there's a real good chance that he'll keep as is, and then they don't deserve to be dropped currently. Yeah.
What do you make of it, Scott?
I thought we were pretty solid at the back. I've looked over the sort of the highlights again, and it was a blatant push for their goal. It was another dodgy refereeing decision against us. So I can't really fault the guys at the back on Saturday. And Henderson playing just in front of him, I think that must relax him. It must. Yeah. It's Henderson's been great for us in that position. It's just totally kick-started the team since he's moved into that kind of defensive midfielder.
I think it's helped McGinn as well. Granted, McGinn was really, really strong at the start of the season, but then he had like a 6 or 7 game wobble.
We needed that.
Since Henderson's come in.
If I think back to the game against Clyde when we drew 3 each, and I think we had quite a few attacking midfielders on that day, and the balance wasn't right. We scored 3 goals away from home. You expect to win a game, but Jordan Allen, who we've signed up now, he banged a couple of great wee goals. So I think putting Henderson in the midfield now is really balanced it out a lot better, and I think there's less pressure on, as you say, on McGinn, the defence, and even it gives Nisbet and stuff like that a bit more freedom.
Yeah, totally.
We're wondering.
He was very quiet, I thought, on Saturday, Aidan Nesbitt. I thought had a very, very quiet game. Over the last few weeks, we've seen him, we've obviously named him Nessie on this show. But I thought he had a very quiet game on Saturday, Ross.
He did, yeah. It wasn't as noticeable. But then Edinburgh probably done their homework on us as well, so maybe nullified him a little bit. He has, as Scott said, he has had a bit more freedom in recent weeks because Henderson and McGinn have been pretty solid. But he's going to have the games. He's going to have the odd game where he's not. Let's face it, he's had more games where he's been on it rather than off it. So long may that continue. I'm sure it won't be a theme or a trend because he's definitely a completely different player to what we saw last season, 100%.
So we talked through the first goal. We went 1-0 up. Evan, you had a better view because you guys were stood on the 18-yard kind of line. I was behind the goal. Talk us through the second goal from your favourite, Callum Morrison.
I can't remember.
He was quite free in the middle, but he got a good cross across.
Yeah, Gary Oliver. I think it was crossed in for Gary Oliver.
Yeah.
What do you think of the finish?
It's a good finish.
Good finish, yeah. He put his laces through it. Yeah, Morrison's came up with some great goals for us this season, and did it again. It did look like he had a bit of space, but you've still got to hit the back of the net, and he was brilliant.
Yeah, It was, and I always like those goals. See, you know, when it doesn't just hit the back of the net, it hits the roof and it hits the roof of the net in then, and it was nice.
I know it was good, and the fans were buzzing. We were buzzing.
Absolutely.
You need that 2-goal cushion in any game.
Yeah, I think Kai Kennedy did great in the build up to the goal as well. It was good to see, obviously, work from both sides and them combining on that. I mean, you look at Morrison's stats for the season. That's him now on 12 goals. We're certainly getting our money's worth on this goal sponsorship, Ross, for Falkirk Daft. But 12 goals and 4 assists for the season, and that's in 26 games. You know, from playing out wide and with those numbers, that's a great return from Callum Morrison, who obviously we had our chat about decision making and stuff, but he's just his form and the way he's getting played by McGlynn this season, he's been outstanding. I don't think
I think he's since we got playing Rowan, the two of them linking up. You know,
he's definitely kicked on again.
Morrison's liking that relationship as well, eh?
Yeah, I think Blaine's been excellent. Again, he's just one of these, what you want to see in a fullback is just solid. You know, that Mr. Consistent, like you go back to Falkirk fullback, Jamie McQuilkin, Jamie McGowan, these guys that just go in there and they're 7 out of 10 every week, like we've seen with Leon McCann on the other side. I think Blaine's got that in him as a fullback, and that's what you want in a fullback, just someone that will get up and down, defend when they have to defend, get forward when they can, and I've been really, really impressed by him.
Yes. Agreed. Yeah.
So 2-0 up. We think we're coasting away to it. Let's talk about, you just mentioned it earlier there, the goal from them. In fairness, it was a good ball over the top from Edinburgh. It was a really tasty ball, but there was a definite foul in the build up to that goal, was there not?
Yeah. I recall, was there a game? There was one of the games in the World Cup or something like that, and somebody thought it was a goal, and somebody got a shove in the back, and it was all held back with VAR and stuff like that. It was identical to that. He clearly pushed them, and lo and behold, the old referees versus Falkirk thing raised its ugly head again.
And this ref's got previous against us, as we know.
Stephen Kirkland, everyone. Stephen Kirkland, another one for the shite referee list. Sorry, Evan.
It's all right. He's heard worse.
Yeah, he's been at plenty of Falkirk games. Yes. He knows exactly what he expects.
He's sitting in the Ken McAllister stand. He's heard a lot worse.
But it was a big penalty claim, and a big shout for it being ruled off. And, you know, while we're on it, let's talk about the penalty claim while we're here as well. At the other end of the ground, I didn't really notice it as much, but when you look back on the highlights, and Lewis and Stewart were screaming for it, did you guys see it? Did you think it was a penalty at the time, Scott?
I did. And when I looked at the highlights again and again, I've even put it in slow motion on YouTube and stuff like that, and it's a blatant shove. And to me, if the ref didn't see it for whatever reason, the linesman must have seen it, because there was nobody in front of them. It was a blatant shove, and I think who was the shoving again? Sean Mackey. He almost done his shoulder, and he was pushed over that hard, eh? So there was no diving or anything like that for our player. That was a blatant shove. Should have been a penalty.
Well, funnily enough, we looked into the stats on this. Falkirk are the only team in the top flight, that's all 4 divisions, that have not had a penalty this year.
I know.
Now, for the amount of shots and the amount of chances we create and the amount of goals, the amount of times we're in that box, as shown by the amount of goals we've scored this season, it is ridiculous. Absolutely ludicrous that we have not had a penalty. The only team, I'll reiterate that, in the top divisions that have not had a penalty this season.
Can you imagine, guys, what it's going to be like when we do get a penalty?
Oh, the cheer's going to be massive.
But then, can you imagine what it's going to be like if we miss that penalty?
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Callum just steps up and blasts it high over the bar.
Yeah, aye. That was his last one, wasn't it? Did he miss one and go off?
That's right, aye. Didn't he hit the bar, I think, didn't he?
Yeah. Aye. But it's a ridiculous stat, an absolutely ridiculous stat. So we're not range, like Ross is always clear to point out, we're not old firm. We don't have old firm mentality, but it's just ludicrous when you look at that on paper. You know,
we just say not go down and win the games in open play. That's what we need to do. Eh?
Absolutely,
we're not going to get any help off the refs.
Exactly. So we just got to do it on our own terms. Yeah. Thanks to our statistician, Donald Johnson, who says that is the first time since the beginning of the 2015-2016 season that we've gone 5 games in a row, and we need to keep it going. In fact, Donald has got further stats for us when he got in touch with us, and he says if we beat Kelty and make it 6 in a row, it'll be the first time since the 2004-2005 season. That's 18 years. That will get 6 wins in a row. So he's tempting fate there, Donald. But that's just the form that we're in at the moment, and long may it continue. Because as we saw at final whistle, we kept checking our phones, and that score over in Hamilton stayed 1-1. So that's 2 points drop and 5 points in it now, Ross.
Tight, John. We're getting there. As I know, Dunfermline fans have been talking about this 7 points gap. That's it down to 5. They've got a tough run of games coming up. Granted, ours isn't the easiest either, but I would rather have our next 4 or 5 games than Dunfermline's next 4 or 5 games, I'll tell you.
No, I think there's a wee bit of rumblings over at East End Park. They've not brought anyone in, in terms of signings, and I think there's a wee bit. Look at this.
They lost that centre half going back to Dundee as well, and he seems to have had a massive impact on their defence. What's his name, Sam Fisher or something like that?
Yeah.
So I think there's, as you say, there's rumblings there, John.
Yeah, we're in their heads. That's the kind of phrase I came out with on Saturday. I can't remember the last time we actually caught up on them. A weekend when we actually caught up on them. And it's coincided with these great signings we've got. And exactly. They've not signed anybody, so they're getting a bit twitchy bums,
I know, they're certainly having a wee glance over their shoulder now, which is good. And it puts us, if we go on and win every game, we're going to win the league, and that's what you've got to look at.
In our hands, absolutely.
Yeah. Exactly. So fingers crossed. I mean, we know that's not going to happen, but
John, you don't know that. Listen, if we win every game between now and the season, not only are we going to win the league, but we'll win the Scottish Cup as well.
Exactly. There it goes. Fingers crossed. Right, let's hear from the manager, John McGlynn.
John, how big a win is that for Falkirk today?
Well, all wins are big. All wins are big. We come to the team who's sitting joint, in second place with us in the same points where we for home, and they made it really difficult for us. We had a lot of the ball first half, and we're obviously trying to get that final ball, final connection, something really, really good to get in. I think Gary had a chance round about the 16-minute mark. Kai's got to the byline, ball scores front area, and he's got there. And it's one of the ones you just get on the end of it and try and get a strike, and you hope it goes in. The goalie's made a save. And we got around them a few times. Callumn got around the other side of them and got a ball across the face of the goal. We just couldn't get the thing to go in the back of the net. It wasn't like it was chance after chance, but we were getting opportunities to get into good positions, to get Steve McGinn had a shot from just outside the box, wide, but bits and pieces of that. But we're a bit slow and just no really picking the right pass to get through them, to get the actual one that was going to be a goal. So it was decision making. Some of the times we were forcing it, some of the times we weren't quick enough. So it was getting that combination, and lo and behold, we do it properly in the second half with regards to the goal. We broke very quickly, we got a great ball in early, and Gary gets his head to it, and it's a glancing header into the far corner. Great goal, very, very similar to the goals that we got last week. Callumn producing some amazing, quality balls into the box, and Gary going in it. Delighted for Gary, because Gary again today was linking the play all over the place, and did very, very well, and all he needs is a goal. Now, he's out the box a lot because he's linking the play, but we get overloads when he's doing that, and we're looking for lightness to make runs off him, and that's the kind of thing that was happening, but we just didn't really quite take advantage of it. So I think the second goal, we press and we win the ball back, and Kai's played a great ball in for Callumn to steady himself and strike a really good shot. So 2-0, great start to the second half, 57 minutes, 2-0, and I thought we'd go on and win convincingly. But Edinburgh are no mugs, absolutely no mugs, and they get a goal back, and it gives them a little bit of belief and a little bit of confidence, a little bit of, go for it here. And it put us under a bit of pressure, but I thought our guys defended the box really well. We were dangerous in the counter attack, and we had opportunities to to score a third and probably even a fourth. Didn't quite materialise. Had to make sure we were concentrated at the back, and we did exactly that. We were concentrated, we defended things, we were professional, and we done the job. And we walk out of here with 3 big points, which is, from your question, how big a point? Well, it's a big 3 points. We've just got to look after ourselves, and that's what we've done today. You look after yourselves. 5 wins in a row. Feel good factors there, confidence is there. The boys are buzzing, and we just want to continue it.
3 minutes 23 on John McGlynn Watch this week. Summed up. I love how John just sums up the whole game in one question. Lewis has got the easiest job now. He just asks one question and away he goes. But there you go.
I wish that Evan was old enough for a drinking game of that, because there is a drinking game there somewhere. Guess how long it takes for that first question.
Definitely. What do you make of what he had to say, Scott, after the game?
Spot on. It's, to sum it up, job done. He agrees with what we said. It was a bit scrappy in the first half, a bit dull in times and stuff like that. Second half, came out, job done. Got the goal back. A wee bit nervous at the end, and John gets it pretty spot on every time in the interview. He's not one of these guys that like, what's he on about? He's usually spot on, but I think Lewis gets a bit nervous with that first question sometimes, the way he has to put it into him. You can tell in his voice, like,
it was a big one. All wins are big.
All wins are big, yeah.
He's always kind of picking him up, eh?
Poor Lewis. Let's kick off then. Let's have a look at what the supporters are saying. Cal kicks us off and says, really good from the lads. Good goals from Gaz and Cal. Could also hear the Hibs fans as well. I don't know if you heard that, Ross, on the TV, but certainly at the game, as Scott will confirm, first 5 minutes, you hear the 2 big cheers got for each other, thinking, oh my God, surely they're not 2-0 down already, Aberdeen. And by the time you got to the pub at the end, Jim Goodwin was gone, walking across the pitch like a lonely man. Do you know what the thing about that as well? Just all the subs are just still warming down and just not giving a hoot as Jim strolls across the pitch. I was hoping he would leap across the advertising hoardings, but he didn't. It was all very awkward. Anyway, back to our game, says Cal. Another shocking referee. Have we done something to deserve this? It seems to always happen to us. And next week, let's take 3 points off Kelty for the first time this season. Come on, you Bairns, says Cal.
We have to take 3 points this weekend. Yep. Pamela says, great result. Horrific officials again. An absolutely horrendous place to watch the football. Glad of the holes in the dugout, which let me see more of the park. Happy to see us starting to win when not at our best. COYB.
Horrible place. It is a horrible place to watch football. Great day out. Horrible place to watch football. Stuart comes in with Bradley Mackay, absolutely outstanding today, and fair play to the guy, looking like a team now capable of winning this, says Stuart.
Indeed, yeah. Craig says, what a difference since Henderson has went into midfield, just as we talked about earlier, and it's all in our hands again.
It is indeed. And Homer says, big win. Sorry to Gary Oliver for doubting him. Ross, would you like to apologise to Gary Oliver as well?
I think we've motivated Gary Oliver.
Right, okay, like we motivated Nesbitt and Morrison as well. Yeah, honestly, if we're going to this dinner at the end of the year, I'm just going to keep my head down and avoid Gary Oliver, I think we should. Morrison, Nesbitt.
We'll end up at the same table as like Ryan Williamson. If he makes it that night, obviously, we might have a teacher's night out or something. Doogie says ended up sat in with some Edinburgh fans for the second half. Nice bunch, even though they were laughing at the no penalty decision. Big 3 points with the Fifers dropping their points. And again, Doogie says, all in our hands again.
All in our hands. I think that's going to be this week's title, I think. Peter, really horrible place to go as far as a football stadium is concerned. Have to congratulate the team for a good professional performance. It was. McGinn gets my man of the match. Gary Oliver as well. So he says Gary Oliver's man of the match, but McGinn was great. We didn't mention, obviously, McGinn had that great strike that came off the post as well. And like you were saying, Scott, he seems a bit more himself than what we saw at the start of the season.
Yeah. I think the baby's maybe sleeping a bit longer at nights and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, it's settled in, but then the teething's going to come and it's a nightmare. You know what it's like.
Could you not get like Ryan Williamson with his expertise in looking after children?
Are you suggesting that Ryan Williamson has now turns into sort of daddy daycare for Stephen McGinn?
You could stay over on a Friday night at McGinnis, and McGinn could sleep in the spare room and get a good night's sleep, for a
Right,
minute.
okay, there we go. Found a job for Ryan Williamson then.
Now, Scott, I don't know if this was you actually, but it could be another Scott. It's a great day out, massive 3 points, awful venue for the football. The fans are buzzing with the new faces, the great unwashed dropping points, and moaning about the lack of signings shows they're starting to look over their shoulders at us, onwards and upwards.
That sounds like me. Good grammar, easy to read.
Actually, I like that, Scott. I like that. Grant says, great win. Should have scored more and killed the game off before the ref let them back into the game. Shocking officials yet again, and still can't get a penalty when it clearly was. But if Burrow had come on with his pace, it would have been a more comfortable win. That's a shout for Burrow to start, maybe. But I don't think, like we said, I don't think he rocks the boat at Kelty. Maybe brings in Donaldson, but again, Brad Mackay was excellent on Saturday.
He did really, really well. He did. John says, got a nosebleed and altitude sickness climbing into the top row of the stand, or row 3, as it's also should have killed the game off earlier. Good goal by Oliver and a good overall performance.
And Sam finishes us up. A great result and showed brilliant desire to win with defending at the end, but should have been out of sight yesterday. Love how defensive teams are now going to be setting up to play against us. Maybe a coincidence, but we have won every game since my daughter was born. There you go. What a great good luck charm she is. Well done, Sam. So there you go. I think we're all singing from the same hymn sheet this week. You know, it was not great, but a good performance. And like we said, it's the performance that we've been looking. It's the kind of performance that Dunfermline have been putting on all season. And now we're starting to see that when we've not played our best, but we've got there and we've got a 2-1 result. It was the same at Alloa as well in the Cup. You know, it seems that they've got this. We talked about mentality at the start of the season, Ross. It seems that's kind of this mentality, and like say, wins generate wins. And this mentality creeped into the side now where we can win dirty, really.
100%. No, listen, long may it continue as well. I'll take that type of win between now and the end of the season every week.
Right, okay. Well, let's get on to our Falkirk Daft rated player. Evan, who's your Falkirk Daft rated player from Saturday?
Either Liam Henderson or Brad Mackay.
Brad Mackay or Liam Henderson. I'm surprised you not went for Callum Morrison, Evan. Scott, who have you got?
Right, well, I was going to get to Henderson, because I think he's just been brilliant in the positions and stuff like that, and we've talked about it before. This team's a lot steadier where he is, but looking back at the highlights and stuff like that, I'm going to give it to Morrison, because he was pinging some great balls in at the weekend, and he took his goal great as well. And it's quite easy to pick Morrison sometimes, but yeah, I think his crosses he's put some good crosses in on Saturday, and as I say, took his goal well. But yeah, kudos to Henderson as well. He's close behind.
Ross, who you got?
I would agree with Scott. I think Cal, not just his finish, which was phenomenal, but his overall work rate's massive these days, and his distribution, the crosses he puts in, and his level of passing is just phenomenal. So I'm going to go Cal, but I think you're probably going to go Brad Mackay.
Well, I think I'd like to agree. Give it to Cal, but the thing is, with an assist and his performance and a great finish for his goal as well. But I'm going to go Evan. I'm going to go Big Bradley. Big Bradley, I thought, sometimes we've been a bit of a critic on this show, Brad, but solid play. Always offers you up something at set pieces as well. He's a big boy, big unit, great in the air. So I am agreeing with Evan. It's going to be Brad Mackay. So a split decision this week. Right then, so it's a split between Callum and Brad. We're going to give it to Brad though, because Evans decided let's get Bradley. So Evans get the final casting. So for Brad Mackay is the Falkirk Daft rated player of the week. Who is the Falkirk Dafty though? Have we got one?
I'm quite a positive person. I don't like sort of slagging off their players, because at the end of the day they're doing a job and stuff like that. But I could never pick one of the players for Saturday. So if you want somebody, it's got to be the officials again. It's got to be the referee and that linesman for missing that blatant penalty in the second half.
Stephen Kirkland is getting a Falkirk Dafty. Ross?
100% the ref again, John. That's his third game for us this season, and he's been awful in every one of them. So, in fact, I think he might have got Falkirk Dafty the last time he refed one of our games. So, yeah, let's make it a hat trick.
Evan,
Probably the same as well. The referees and the officials.
Right, always the thing. I'm going to give you someone different. I want to give it to the guy, one of the young team who was totally steaming and fell and took down a full fence during the match. He walked into a fence, fell over the fence, took the whole fence down with him. So there you go. So he gets my daft day of the week just for that.
Did you see the paramedic heading the ball back in?
By the way, I did see the paramedic heading the ball. He should have maybe he could have got at the Falkirk Daft rated, but not this week.
He got a big way anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's always been my dream. I think it's every football fan's dream for that ball gets kicked out and it's just coming to you and you head it back onto the pitch. One of these days, it almost happened this season, but one of these days it's going to happen. Mark my words. Listen, Scott, Evan, absolutely brilliant pundits. Evan's absolute star. We'll see you on Match of the Day really soon, I'm pretty sure. But listen, been great guest pundits. We really appreciate you coming on Falkirk Daft.
Make a quick couple of shouts out, guys.
Yeah, get a shout out.
So we go to the games with my brother, who's a Falkirk Dafty as well. He's a diehard like us, and in the family. And can I give a shout out to the guys at Falkirk FFIT, who you've talked about before? I'm just going down there later on to play a game. I'll probably be running late, but big shout out to Dougie and the boys for organising that.
And by the way, a shout out to Stevie Gibson who dropped us a message. I believe they won 10-6 against Edinburgh Thistle, was it last week?
We're playing a Sunday. Unfortunately, I can't play on a Sunday because I go out mountain biking. But yeah, a shout out to the guys, Dougie and all the boys down there that organised that. I never ever thought I would enjoy Mondays, but down there on Monday night, it's great stuff. So I'll be down there to try and bag a hat trick.
Go on yourself, Scotty. Go on yourself. Brilliant. So if you want to be like Scott and Evan, if you want to be father and son, I've really enjoyed that, having a father and son combination. We'd love to have you on. You can do that. Drop us a DM on Twitter, Facebook, or email us, falkirkdaftpod@gmail.com.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Ross, the big question is back, and we are a day ahead of the transfer window slamming shut. It's always slamming shut. It's never getting closed quietly. It's always slamming shut, the transfer window. I think from a Falkirk perspective, we're done. We're up the road. Unless we're hoping the people have come in. We hope no one escapes out of the window before the deadline, but we will wait and see. I think we should be okay, though.
Hopefully, I think realistically, if there is anyone going, it's either Morrison for a lot of money. For me, it would need to be an awful lot of money. And the Kennedy situation, because obviously we're at the mercy of Rangers there.
Yeah.
The worry with Kennedy, though, is if the rumoured American move happens,
according to Andy Rodgers.
Their window is a lot later.
Aye,
so
isn't it?
It doesn't really go away with Kennedy, unfortunately. So we'll just need to wait and see there. But hopefully it's a quiet one, buddy.
Yeah, with any luck it will be. And we thought on the big question, however, we would ask what has been the best mid-season signing. So we didn't say January signing because going back to the old school, you remember you could sign someone anytime. Exactly. It's always exciting, but I hate transfer ones. Remember the days when it was just like you would go read the Falkirk Herald on a Thursday and you're like, oh, we're signing a new player. The game on Saturday, it was amazing. I know. Used to love that. Oh, Dominic Yorfa, wow, he's a Nigerian striker. But it was just really exciting every day waking up for the papers or waiting for the Falkirk Herald on a Thursday. I'm showing my age here totally.
No, listen, I get it. I get it.
And then you find out you've got a new signing coming in for Saturday.
You had CFAX.
CFAX constantly refreshed. 140 on STV, was it?
You had 302 on BBC, I think it was.
And I think it was 140 the football pages on ITV. People are Dad, what's CFAX? That's people are asking that. We thought we'd ask what's the best mid-season signing that we've had. Let's kick off with Graham. Savin McGivern, November 1986, the days before transfer windows were much more fun. And Sam was excellent for 7 years. So, yeah.
Can't argue with that. That's a hell of a stint.
I didn't ask who you thought, Ross, actually. Who was you?
I've got two sort of signings in my head, and I can't really split them because they had massive impact. So, I'll start in sort of chronological order, but season 94-95, Jeffries were a huge bit of business. He sold Eddie May to Motherwell, and we got Paul McGrillen, Stevie Kirk, and I think about 150 grand in cash, which we then used to pay Maurice Johnston for the remainder of the season.
What a week that was!
That's just phenomenal. Like, Jeffries was always the master of the wheeler dealer, but to let one player go out to get three in effectively, and for those three players to be Mowgli, Stevie Kirk, and Maurice Johnson, it changed their season, and we just missed out on Europe. Just missed out. Bloody Celtic, they probably got some dodgy ref the last few weeks giving them a penalty here and there. Unlike these days, shock. So yeah, for that one, and then I think your brother mentioned it as well. Actually, just when Totten got the job in late '96, and he brought Crunchy back in, and it changed the full club for the rest of that season. And I think, had we not done that, I don't think we would have went as far in the Scottish Cup as we did that season.
No, two great shouts there. Two great shouts. I agree. Maurice Johnson, I thought, was just waking up, like you say, when you sit here. Maurice Johnson's going to Falkirk. What? And because he was playing for Hearts at the time, and you're like, it's mojo. It's Scotland international striker, and he was at the tail end of his career, but it was still Maurice Johnson's just signed for Falkirk.
Do you remember where they did the press conference? Do you remember that?
No. So
they did the photos at Brockville, right? But because there was too many press there, Brockville wasn't big enough. Like the room, the hospitality room wasn't big enough. So they moved it to Rosie O'Grady's when Rosie's was a pub. And the press conference was done upstairs in Rosie's.
That's amazing. All I remember is, I don't know I think it was the week he signed, actually, was Big Yogi running naked behind Mojo.
That's on YouTube. We need to find that. We need to find that.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to do the YouTube search. Yogi naked. Maurice Johnston. But no,
Pornhub, we'll check that one.
Right, let's see what everyone else is saying to this. Wee Tam says Kevin McAllister under Totten, agreeing with you, Ross.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, what a signing. Sandy says lots to choose from, but Danny Mallow, just for the save at Inverness alone.
Oh, Danny Mallow. And Danny Mallow liked that tweet as well, so shout out to Danny Mallow. Scott goes old school Tommy McQueen from West Ham.
Do you know, that's another great shout. Phenomenal Tommy, penalty maestro as well. I think that was the last time we got penalty, to be fair. Peter says, loads here. Crunchy, Scott Crabbe, Stevie Kirk, Richard Cadet. Recent times would have to be Kerr and Baird. And that's a good shout out with Kerr and Baird, because again, had they been eligible to play in the Scottish Cup, that also could have been a massive difference on Cup final day, because the two of them had both came on as a sub for bloody Queen of the South or something like that.
Do you know what? That would have been, you're right, that would have been absolutely... Craig agrees, Baird and Kerr combo, it was a great sign at the time. And Stuart says Alex Taylor, another old school one, and his foggy debut versus Dundee away.
Oh, I don't recall that one myself, but I wonder if that might maybe be on YouTube and we have a look at that. Gordon says Stokes signed at the start of the season. However, short-term signing amazing. Stuart Taylor certainly up there. I forgot, Stuart Taylor's an absolute brilliant shout. Peter Godfrey too, and Cornelius Duffy. Who could forget?
Fraser agreeing with Sandy. Danny Mallow, special mention to John Baird, and we can't forget Will Folks, who came and played for his expenses. What a find he turned out to be. John Baird's getting a lot of love, isn't he?
Yeah, Craig said that as well. Dell, Stuart Taylor back in the last season at Bravo. He's spot on. Just what a difference he made when he came. Some cracking goals. Scored the last goal at Brockville for Falkirk, obviously. Absolute belter up at Dundee in the Cup.
It was some player. He was just like he was like a false nine before there was a false nine, and he just the overlapping runs he made. It was brilliant. It's a Stuart Taylor. Here's Dave, absolutely agreeing with you. Swapping Eddie May for Stevie Kirk and Paul McGrillen, and then signing Mo Johnston the same day week in '95. Went on to win 5-6 in a row in the Premiership and on the cusp of Europe. I think may have well been second/third with 3 games to go.
Yeah, and then I'm sure Celtic got a few wins on the spin that changed the top four, because obviously we finished fourth or fifth that year season, didn't we?
Fifth,
so,
yeah.
I think that was also where, we lost the last game of the season because Aberdeen needed to stay up as well.
That was it was Aberdeen game at Brockville.
I never forgive the Falkirk board actually for that time, because they didn't handle that well at all. They totally dropped their drawers for Aberdeen. Not only did they give them the usual away end, they gave them Cooperage Lane as well. The crowds Falkirk were getting then were phenomenal, and we didn't sell the tickets just for Falkirk fans, and we ended up having bloody Dons fans in the home end at some point as well. So there's still better.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Martin says Paddy Craig. For me, we missed that little pest in midfield that does
Love that.
Yeah, good shout. Danny Mallow as well. The second half of the 08-09 season he played for is absolutely brilliant.
There we go. Shout out to Danny Mallow. We should get him on the podcast. We should try to get him on, Danny Mallow.
To get Danny Mallow on the podcast.
Let's try and aim for that. So thank you very much for all your correspondence on that. We'll have another big question for you next week.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Every week on Falkirk Daft, we like to look ahead to our next opponents, and this weekend it's our bogey team. It's Kelty Hearts, who have beaten us twice in the league so far, and we're away to them again on Saturday. And on to talk Kelty is the operations assistant and commentator for Kelty Hearts. It's Logan Bak. How you doing, Logan?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Yourself?
Good, thank you. Good. We're just talking there. You were up at Montrose at the weekend, and I believe you were screaming like a little girl when that third goal went in for the equaliser.
In fact, I'll quote one of the comments. I think it was, when did Mrs. Doubtfire go on commentary or something like that? So I found that a bit funny, but I thought the game was done, to be honest. And we deserved a draw, in my opinion. And then obviously the great goal that's been going around on social media the past 24 hours or so. I think it was 16 passes in total, leading to Nathan Austin's equaliser. So I think we deserved the point, but I think I was maybe slightly went over the top of my celebrations.
I mean, just talking in general, Logan, how have you found this season up in League One?
I think we start at the start was really difficult. I think getting used to League One was maybe a bit of a struggle. Obviously, new players come in, gelling. But I think now, the last few months or so, we're starting to see what the team's capable of, and we're getting more points, specifically away from home. Because the away form at the start of the season was, I think that our first win actually was away to you guys. So, but we did struggle at the start of the season. But I think the team's starting to gel, and we're starting to see more goals and more clean sheets and things like that. So yeah, it's getting better.
Yeah, I mean, you've been surprised at how well Kelty have done, or Kelty have obviously they've got a bit of cash behind them, got some very good players at the club. But have you been surprised?
To be honest, I wasn't sure what to expect, because obviously we did so well last year in League Two. Obviously, new manager coming in, John Potter, and then seeing how he brings his style of football. So I wasn't sure what to expect. The League Cup was a bit disappointing. I think we finished bottom of the group. So we went into the league season kind of unknown, but I think Kelty fans are just happy with staying up the season and seeing what League One's all about, and then taking it forward in the next few years, hopefully.
I mean, that's one thing that's happened to Kelty. You've lost manager after manager, Barry Ferguson, and then Kevin Thompson as well, who did both sets of managers did good jobs for you. John Potter, is it a different style of football that you're seeing with him?
It's certainly in the same formation. We like to play a 4-3-3, maybe in a 4-2-3-1. We're kind of Nathan Austin, and you've got obviously Cardle and Higginbottom on the wing, so you both know well about. And then trying to include Agyeman as well, who's been certainly one of our top players this year as well. And then the midfield's kind of Michael Tidds and Barjonas are kind of key to how we play as well. So I think it's kind of a wee bit similar. But yeah, it's certainly been much better over the last few months.
you've certainly just rhymed off a few ex-Falkirk boys, plus obviously the Falkirk hater that is Joey Cardle, Logan. So it's see, when some of these names get mentioned, I just want to get through Saturday with a win. Like, it gives me the
I know it's certainly. I mean, obviously Nathan Austin's back for you guys. He's been out for most of the season injured. That's the name that worries me the most. I think it's a player that at Falkirk never really got the credit he deserved, and certainly on the team that we've got now, Ross, I think would have done a really good job.
No, I thought he did okay when he was with us. Obviously, he was a wee bit injury prone, but no, I agree. I think Nathan Austin will be a big player for Kelty for the rest of the season. Now he's back in, and I'm sure he'll be, like a few of the others that Logan just mentioned, probably trying like an absolute bear on Saturday to get a goal. So, yeah, we need to watch, but we have looked tight defensively, so we just need to try and keep that going.
Agyeman is a player that's been touted for a move. Do you think you're going to? We're recording this on a Monday. Is he going to be at the club come Saturday? I'm hoping not.
I'm not sure. I've not heard anything. Obviously, the newspapers have been reporting that several clubs in England and Scotland have been interested, but I've not heard anything. Hopefully, he'll still be here till at least the summer. I think that the last few weeks he's been a bit quiet, but when he's at his game, he's on top, and he's one of our best players.
That first 10 minutes against us at our place, he ragdolled our defence, absolutely pulled them all over the place, and looked like you're just going, oh my God. Every time he came forward with the ball, you're just like, oh Jesus.
Is he out of contract this summer, is he?
I believe so, yeah.
Right,
I believe so.
Yeah, 8 goals for the season for him so far. But Jonas as well is a player that's really kind of lit up the Kelty this season.
I think he's played more. He's had different positions over the course of the season. We've always had a few injuries to players, and he's had to play in a few different positions deeper than in the forward line as well, coming off the left. I think his best position is definitely in the terminal, where he can get on the ball and dribble forward and try and get the pass through to Nathan Austin or Agyeman, who's ever is up front. But yeah, he's adding more goals and assists to his game, which I think when I've interviewed the gaffer, that's what he wants more of him to do this season.
Yeah, and the only sign to talk about, I guess, is Jack Milne coming in from Aberdeen on loan. Did he get a game at the weekend?
Yeah, he started in centre defence with Tam O'Ware. We got a slight glimpse of him. He came on against Airdrie at home, and then he played in a East of Scotland Cup match against Gallifreydine Rovers, where he started in midfield as well. But I think he can play either holding midfield or central defence. Looks really comfortable on the ball, and quite composed on the ball. I think maybe just a bit of experience with the defensive side as well. But obviously, players like Tam O'Ware and Jordan Foster will certainly help him with that during his loan spell.
Yeah. So what's looking at the league, you're safe in the division. It's obviously between Clyde and Peterhead now. What is the goal for Kelty? Where would you like to end in the league? You're 29 points just now. Is the playoffs out with your grass? There's 7 points. There's only 7 points between you and Airdrie. Do you think you could still have a go at the playoffs?
I think if we lost on Saturday, that would have been it completely done. But I think we needed to win on Saturday to just kind of give us a confidence boost, because I think if we were going to win, it would only be a matter of a few points between us and Montrose. But as you know, League One's so tight. A couple of wins can get you right up that table and right back into the mix. So obviously tough couple of games coming up against you guys, and then we'll see. Hopefully we'll maybe bring in 1 or 2 bodies before the end of the window, and then make a push, which is fingers crossed.
I'm hoping not. If this is ahead of Saturday, I really hope not. So yeah, we normally ask your game. I think there's only one pub in Kelty though. We're like, what pub should we drink in when we're coming up there? But there's only one pub in Kelty, isn't there?
Yeah, I believe so. I think it's the Kings on the corner. We've obviously got our social club as well, but I think because there will be such a big crowd, it will only be open to home supporters.
I was just going to ask that, Logan. Was that somewhere that Bairns fans might have got in, but sounds like probably not. It's going to be restricted, is it?
I'd say the Kings is probably a best shot. I'm not 100% sure about that one.
Yeah. Am I right in saying that, Logan? I've heard this that the Kelty Hearts is now the biggest business in Kelty.
I'm not sure. I mean, it's a very much community village club. Obviously, most of our supporters are from Kelty, and we've got our community club for the younger players, and it's really every night at New Central Park. It's packed full of kids coming to train, and I think the kids love the coaching that they get at Kelty, because obviously it's not pro youth; it's still as a community club. So. But I think they're doing well. I'd say it's probably one of the attractions in Kelty.
Yeah.
There's not much.
And finally, what do you think the score's going to be on Saturday, Scott? Logan?
I don't think... I'll go for a 1-1 draw. I think we've had a bit of luck. Well, not luck, but we've got the better of yous twice. I think maybe yous are in a good form now, and yous are quite tight at the back. So I think 1-1 draw will be fair. What about yourselves?
Does the hoodoo end, Ross?
It has to, John. Obviously, I know Logan. I wasn't sure to bring this up. You'll be hoping from a Pars perspective as well, because I think I saw from your Twitter that you are a Pars fan. So
yeah.
you'll be hoping we split up. You'll be hoping that we cock up again on Saturday. But any win will do for me. I'd take a 1-0 just now, John. I know I keep saying this the last few weeks, but I would any win, especially after the 2 games, because it has not went well against Kelty at all. So I'll take a 1-0. What about you?
1-0 and up the road. Thank you very much. That will do me fine indeed. But yeah, no, we need to get the hoodoo off the back, because Kelty, as we've said, Logan, have been our complete bogey team, and in fairness to Kelty, have deserved to win both games that we've played against them. So. Aye, we'll wait and see. But Logan, thank you so much for coming on Falkirk Daft. Really appreciate the insight into Kelty. And we say it every week, best luck on Saturday, but we don't really mean
it. Yeah, no bother. Thank you, guys. Cheers.
This is Falkirk Daft.
And that's it for Falkirk Daft. Right, first of all, though, I need to put a shout out to one of our listeners, Jamie Douglas, who we know lives in America, right? Now, he messaged us last week, right, and said he's going to mention he has 2 goats. Jamie lives out, I think it's Montana or some way out west.
Yeah, Texas, yeah.
Yeah, so Jamie lives out there, and he's got 2 goats. And he said to us last week, I'm going to name these goats after whoever scores against Edinburgh at the weekend. So we now have 2 goats in Texas named Gary and Callum. So Callum and Gary, the goats out of Texas named after. Love that.
Listen, you're the tech wizard, John. He sent us the photo, didn't he? So we'll need to put that on the YouTube version.
Yeah, you can see it. In fact, you can see that photo now. There's Gary and Callum, the fantastic goats in Texas. You've got to be joking.
Hey,
love a wee goat joke.
Listen, pull the other one, eh? Come on.
Do goats have others?
I don't know. I'm hoping that's
I don't know if they do or not, Ross.
Listen. The joke was rough.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Right. Listen, we've got to shout out. We didn't mention it at the start of the show when we were talking over. Scottish Cup draw. Last week we were talking Aberdeen Darvel. You were like, Darvel, it's going to be Darvel. And right enough.
Called it.
And we're off to Darvel very, very soon. And in fact, we have the Darvel manager, Mick Kennedy, is going to be on Falkirk Daft next week as our special guest to preview the Darvel game. I don't think I'm making the game just due to work, because I get up at ridiculous clock in the morning, so I don't think I'm going to make it. Ross, you're going to be heading down to Darvel though?
Yeah, well, heading up because I'm away that weekend with family, and then so en route I'm going to have some.
You're not taking the family to Darvel, are you?
No. I think I would be disowned if I.
Yeah, well, you might.
But, massively up for that game. Obviously, we've got Alloa next Tuesday as well, so let's not forget about that. But it's a busy week coming up at Darvel. Mick will be brilliant, I'm sure. From the Twitter exchanges we had with him already, I'm sure that's going to be a brilliant.
He actually tipped us off that Jordan Allen was coming in. I heard you've got a striker coming in, but he'll be cup tied, and we're like, oh, I wonder who that could be. So Jordan Allen was totally out of the boy though. But looking forward to speaking to Mick next week to preview that Darvel game. Like you say, Ross, there's a lot of football to get in between there and then. So it's like Kelty and then Alloa at the stadium next week as well. So lots and lots of football to be played between now and the Cup. But hopefully 2 wins in between that and keep that momentum going into the Darvel game. And I'm just kind of hoping that, you know, they've had their moment in the sun, because you see that so often in the Cups that teams will go and they'll have their shock and then get beaten the next round. I'm really crossing my fingers.
Hoping for that as well.
You know, quarter final, and you know, if you get a Wraith or Elgin, you're in maybe looking at a trip to Hampden, or you know, you're getting maybe a big payout day at Rangers or Celtic or Hearts, and you know, we will see. But
can you imagine if we actually, like, this is probably me getting too far ahead of myself, but can you imagine a League One team like getting to the final of the Scottish Cup? That'd be bonkers, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah. Don't even
bonkers. Listen, I predicted Darvel would beat Aberdeen. I'm going to say it. Falkirk's going to make the final. There you go.
Right, there you go. You've heard it here first on Falkirk Daft. Listen, thanks very much for listening. As ever, you can get us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Please rate and review us. That really helps us out. Remember, if you want to sponsor the show, we put out a shout out for sponsors. Please get in touch. You can drop us an email, falkirkdaftpod@gmail.com, or drop us a DM in any of our socials and get back to you. We've got some fantastic packages available, and a lot of the money goes back into the club. You know, we obviously put back in with the Falkirk Supporters Society and the beer. We've sponsored a couple of players, sponsored Callum Morrison's goal celebrations, which is coming through well. Love that work, Ross. Love that work. And also we've got merch up for grabs as well. I've seen a few people posting mugs and stuff like that.
Hats and t-shirts and stuff.
Yeah, hats and t-shirts. So you can get that all. If you fancy something a bit different from the club shop, you can get that at shop.spreadshirt.co.uk/Falkirk-Daft. That's shop.spreadshirt.co.uk/Falkirk-Daft. The links are below as well. We've got an offer coming up for Valentine's Day as well, so we'll keep you posted on that in the next couple of weeks. But any profit we make from that is going to go straight back into the club. We're probably looking to save it. I think Ross and sponsor a player next season as well.
Yep, sounds like a plan.
So any money we make on that goes back into the club, so it's not getting wasted as well. So thank you very much for listening. Bogey team up next, Kelty, but we're all smiles with 5 wins. Let's see if we can do what Donald says we can do and get 6 wins for the first time since way back in 2000. What was it? 2003, 2004, 2005. Let's see if we can make it happen this weekend. And until next time, Ross.
Expect the unexpected, buddy.